Howdy panda, po panda, po panda. Ba ba ba. So this is TVP. Panda Rush came to me originally, I think, in the Silver League, and I think he's Diamond now. He's awesome. So for anyone who's not Panda Rush was Warcraft 3 player. Came with all of the micro ability and the APM necessary to be an awesome player, but being brand new to StarCraft, he got me for, you know, just what do I do coaching. But as far as doing it, like, he's better than me at actually doing what what you want to do, being quick. So the question comes down to what to do specifically. What do I do in this scenario, and so on and so forth. So in this TVP, we're starting off, it looks like double racks with no other tech and only one geyser. That makes me believe you're going to go for some early pressure. And I captain early pressure it is. One thing about this map, I thumbs down this map because you basically can't get up this ramp, and that means he gets 2 guaranteed bases, and that means the only way to compete with him is to get 3 of your own bases relatively quickly. So 1 base versus 2 base on this map, you're just going to lose. So not even knowing what happens in the rest of this game, that's like the problem right there. He's going to expo much, much earlier than you, and you're going to take this late expo. On this map, just go for 3 bunkers, no gas, quick expo, because there's no way for him to get up your ramp and there's no way for you to get up his ramp. So you both get a guaranteed expo, and whoever gets it quicker is going to have an advantage. So at this point, Protosian's income is going to be a little bit higher. Even though you have a mule and the same number of workers, after 16 workers on minerals, the amount of minerals each worker pulls in gets lower and lower, and then at about right here, these last 4 workers are doing absolutely nothing. Which is another reason you should get your second gas before you saturate your minerals, because if you're going to have 4 idle workers just sitting here walking back and forth between patches trying to mine and unable to, you might as well have them on gas, you know, even if you're not going to spend that gas. You know, the workers are basically idle, why not get gas? So this is way too long in the game to still have 2 production facilities at well. As you can see, you're keeping your money pretty low, but when you throw down this command center, as soon as it finishes, your income is going to jump to a point where it's completely impossible to spend your money on just 2 racks. So right when you throw down this command center, you want to throw down 2 more production facilities, either a factory and an engineering bay, or like a racks factory or double racks or something. This pressure is going very badly for you, but it's not because of how you're doing it. There is no good way to put on pressure up a ramp. It's impossible. So you're just losing money. You're kind of throwing units. Throwing away units. And I just don't recommend this at all on this map. Early pressure, bad idea. Bad map for it. So now you finally got your base up and your income is jumped to be ahead of his by a little bit. But in reality, once your mules run out, you're going to be behind, way behind, because he's got 4 geysers and you've got 1, which is fine if you're going M&M. You don't want lots of geysers, but let me explain better. This is full saturation. That means you're 5 over soft cap of saturation. This is 5 over soft cap of saturation. So your units aren't mining at full efficiency while his are. You know what I'm saying? Especially here. Like, this is exactly 16, so it's exactly full capacity mining. So even though with 2 mules and more workers than him, you should technically have a much bigger income than him, he has a bigger income than you just because he's pulling in gas and you're not. Also, this late into the game, 13 minutes into the game, you need higher tech stuff. I mean, I can see that you're working towards it, but you need to already have it. This starport, you want your starport done at 9 minutes or so, usually, unless you did some significant damage and you don't have to worry about tech for some reason. But if you haven't done damage and your starport is starting at 14 minutes, you're just going to lose, because as I showed in the video I linked to you earlier on the unit test map, Marauder Medevac Viking versus Colossus, if you both have exactly the same amount of money spent on your army, then you need at least 2.5 to 3 Vikings per Colossus. So right now, I think this engagement would go somewhat okay, depending on it. You definitely don't want to fight in a choke or anything. But army size, he's got a much bigger army than you. So the number of Vikings you have is okay, but your just army size is too small. Also, Marines, you need to use these early or not make them, because Marines are awesome against non-Colossus, non-Psystorm armies. But once Psystorm and Colossus get out, you really want to have much heavier Marauder focus with a lighter Marine. So like 28 and 28 would be perfect. But 28 and 49 is really bad because the Colossus are just going to melt the piss out of those. Another big problem is he's pretty Zealot heavy. So what you want is for him to walk through a choke and you to be out in the open where he can't prevent you from fighting. If you're both out in the open, that kind of favors you a little bit. But if you're in the choke and he's not, that's like the worst case. Anyway, let's watch this battle. So you've got 7,900. He's got 7,700. So you're basically exactly even on army size. But what that means with all these units not participating in the fight back here, this is like more than $1,000. This is like 500, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 is $1,300. So your army is $1,300 smaller than his army, just because you're so close to his base and so far from your base. I understand you were at 200 unit space, so you had to attack, and that's fine. But with these Colossus so far in the back and Guardian Shield up and the Zealots able to get into combat, he's not microing, really. So this might go okay for you. But it's definitely not going to go great at all. You're so now that once the Zealots are dead, that's when it's really going to start going better for you. And when the Zealots were dead, the fight was over. So that's the problem. So that went pretty bad for you, mostly because he had $1,000 more than you in the fight, and that's just because you had units back here and you fought really close to his base. Also the Zealots versus Marines, I mean, that's a really big deal. You had 28 Marauders and like 50 Marines, and that's just too Marine heavy for a late game composition. You want Marine heavy in the early game and Marauder heavy in the late game. Also, the ideal micro for you against this push, first of all, you got caught with you got caught with this at your back, so you couldn't run backwards. That's terrible. I mean, you want to be retreating during the fight. So if the fight had happened here, that would have been much better, because then you could have retreated backwards. But now you can't retreat at all, so the Colossus just get to shoot. Colossus walk at 2.25 speed. He's got 2-1 upgrades. You've got 0-0 upgrades, so upgrades played a big role here too. Look how many units you have not fighting, right? This is why you want to keep retreating. When you're stimmed, your guys walk 1.2. They walk 50% faster than Colossus. So what you want to do is engage somewhere where you have a lot of room behind you, stim, start to shoot, and then walk backwards so that you're out of the range of the Colossus, and then start to shoot a little more, and then walk backwards so that you're out of range of the Colossus over and over and over, so that you're never getting hit by the Colossus, basically. And then just let your Vikings shoot at the Colossus while his little units chase you. And when his little units stop chasing you and start shooting at the Vikings, then you walk back in and start fighting. And then when they turn back to shoot at your M&M and the Colossus start firing at you, you walk away again. And all that means that you know, that's just how you want to micro against this type of army from him. Standing still is terrible. You never want to be standing still, and especially with a Marine heavy force, you would want your Marines like way in the back, only shooting against Zealots. And he warped in a whole nother wave. This makes his army like double the size of your army, and then with Blink you can't even retreat. So yeah, it came down to like the positioning was really bad. You had stuff behind you. You didn't micro. You didn't pull back at all. You had a much smaller army than him. Even though your army was the same size, he had 1,000 bigger then. And then with these 7 stalker warp in, that's like another $1,600 joining the fight. So he had like 2,000 bucks throughout the course of the battle bigger than you. That's really bad. But this is something I've called repeatedly the passivity fail. When you're playing against Protoss, you have to be aggressive with your early Marines because the later into the game you get, the less useful they are. So if you just let both players max up and spend all your money, he's going to win. Also, he's pulled more money out of the ground than you, I think. Let's see, he's 3,400 ahead here, and you're less than you're 1,000 ahead here. So he's pulled about 3,000 bucks more than you out of the ground. So to beat Stalker, Sentry, Zealot, Colossus with Marauder, Viking, you need medevacs. Like 3 to 6 medevacs when you have a maxed army, and 1 to 2 in the earlier portion of the game. And you need to have more money than him. So basically, this strategy is I want to have a really easy macro, because M&M and Viking is so easy to produce, right? That makes your macro really easy. But you're trying to have really easy macro and more money than him. So you just have to always try to stay one expo ahead of him and just pull in more cash. And you didn't. In the early game, you expoed later than him, and then right now, even you're mining off of 2 bases, and this one's undersaturated, despite being one of your only 2 mining bases. All these workers aren't doing anything, and this base is oversaturated, much oversaturated. You would want gas to make use of this. So yeah, basically you got less money than him. And you're just getting upgrades now. And it's fine to be late with your upgrades, but there has to be a reason, right? Either, like, an upgrade takes 3 minutes to fight, or to complete. So you got to say to yourself, am I going to fight within the next 3 minutes? If no, I need upgrades right now. If yes, then that has to actually happen. Because delaying your upgrades in order to have a stronger army during the fight only makes sense if you have that fight. And on this map, you should not be trying to be aggressive on his second base. You should be trying to prevent his third and his fourth, and just basically contain him to 2 bases while you get 3 or 4 or 5 bases of your own. Also, this is your natural third, not this. I mean, obviously this is fine, but I would like to have seen both of them with this one first and then this one, because if you expand on the way to him, then your army can be between him and your expo, and then it's not as vulnerable. Whereas, like, with this, he can just walk a couple zealots around on the south and go blah, blah, blah. Which isn't a problem when you have the PF, but if you put stalkers, like, right here and right here, I guess that could be bad. Whatever. Anyway, you always want to expand along your attack path as Terran. Or at least as Terran ground. When you're going Terran air, you can expand wherever you want, but whatever. Yeah. Dude. So this mostly just came down to the amount of money you got. He got more money than you, and so you lost. And that showed itself in the upgrades and in him having a bigger army than you, but it could have showed itself in any number of ways. He could have gotten quadruple robo and just had mostly whatever they're called, Colossus, or he could have gotten a mothership, or he could have gotten, you know, all sorts of other researches, or he could have gotten no researches and just way bigger of an army than you. Like, it doesn't matter how he spends his money as long as it's somewhat reasonable. If he has more money than you, he's going to win the big fight. Yeah, dude, yeah. Also, in general, Protoss death balls are gonna win that big fight anyway, just in general. If you spend enough more money than him, and you have Emp, and you have enough Vikings and mostly Marauders rather than mostly Marines, and you retreat from his Zealot so that they aren't fully efficient, then you can win with this. This is called standard play because it's possible to win with it, right? And it's the easiest thing to do that's reasonable. But yeah, it really comes down to that money thing. So, that is all. Get more money. I mean, it's tempting to say you needed better upgrades because he out-upgraded you, but it's not about that. If you had gotten the same upgrades as him, your army would have been like $1,000 smaller, and he still would have won the fight. It didn't come down to upgrades. It came down to the fact that he could have a bigger army than you and upgrades, and that's all just about the amount of money he got.